So hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 80 of Level Up, 60 minutes of live Q&A, where your questions, chat and votes really do drive the show. A warm welcome to everybody who's joining us on LinkedIn and YouTube today. Please do let us know your name and which city that you're joining from in the chat. We really do love to hear from you and get everybody involved. Also in the chat, you'll find a link to vote up the questions that you would most like answered, and of course, to add your own as well. We live stream Mondays at 8 and Fridays at 2 p.m. UK time to both YouTube and LinkedIn. So feel free to make a date and join us at any of those times. Today, well, we're going to be talking about how to build a career in service management, an approach that grew out of the need to organise and deliver predictable IT services is now widely adopted across a whole range of organisational functions, disciplines, and processes. So joining us today, we've got a fantastic panel, including several folks who run their own podcasts and help their clients through embracing the digital age. Gary Gamp, we'll start with you. He is, of course, senior partner with Positive Momentum and has dedicated his career to helping organisations identify and secure improvement opportunities and beneficial change. He specialises in leadership, change and transformation with a focus on securing cross-functional harmony. Welcome back, Gary. Lovely to see you.
Wow. Thank you, Nick. And what a great intro. Thanks a lot. Good morning, good evening, everyone.
You're very welcome. I love the harmony part. Now, stole that from your little bio that you sent us. So thank you so much. And Mart Rovers is a leadership coach and consultant who inspires his clients to embrace service management in the modern era. An experienced change leader, Mart is, of course, another regular contributor to Level Up and the president over at INTERPROM. Hi, Mart. Welcome back.
Thank you, Nick. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to some exciting questions, because if you don't get the answers from this panel, I don't know where to get them.
It's very true. It's very true. So thank you so much. Dierk Söllner is a solopreneur whose practice focuses very much on the people dimension as he strengthens people and teams empathetically and competently. Dierk works across industries from the largest enterprise to the smallest in the SME sector. So welcome back, Dierk. Lovely to see you again.
Oh, thanks, Nick, for the nice intro, and welcome back. Yes, thank you to the living room of APMG Level Up.
Thank you very much indeed. Mathias Traugott is an entrepreneur and principal consultant. He's an advisory board member over at the ITSM in Germany, a keynote speaker and an author who shares his experiences in shaping service providers in the digital economy. Welcome back, Mathias. Lovely to see you again.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Happy sunny morning. Enjoy it.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. Martin Vitous is the founder and executive head of ICT123.com, who helps companies solve their problems and really take advantage of new opportunities as they are presented. He's a passionate believer in the view that there's never a single way of getting anything done. And so welcome back, Martin. Brilliant to have you on the panel again today.
Thank you, Nick. Hello, everybody. Looking forward for your questions.
Okay, excellent. And thank you so much to all of the folks who are joining us in the chat on social. We have Haley De Quinta is over there working hard to get your comments and questions in directly to the panel. The other person who's joining us today is, of course, our question master, who is Suchitra Jacob. She's going to be joining us from Bangalore. So welcome, Suchitra. Great to see you this morning. How are you?
Hi, everyone. I'm doing well, Nick, and looking forward to asking questions from our viewers.
Okay, all right, perfect. Well, I think then on that note, we should jump straight in and let's take our first question, please.
We have a question from Stephen, who asks, what are the typical skills that are needed for someone in service management?
Okay, so panel, what would you say are the typical skills that are really needed for somebody working in a service management environment? I would say one of the first things to consider is really to be a good listener. So I'm going to start you off with that, and then let's hear from Dierk and then from Martin.
Okay, so just waited for the other guys to raise their hands, but it's up to me. I think typical skills should be taken look over the borders, just getting in touch with customers and take a broad view, not a team of product orientated, but a broad view across from customer to customer. So looking at the value streams and all things like that.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed, Martin.
From my perspective, I would like to add something on top of Dierk's answer. Definitely, there is a customer, so we have to work for the customer. We have to be touched in the customer. We have to be able to understand the customer's domain and what he or she does, etc., etc. I believe that some technical background never hurt, so there should be some technical knowledge as well, because in the past I could see situation that people just after school switch for service management, and they a little bit struggled when they had to communicate and work with technicians because they didn't understand that. And I'm sure we will talk about that later, about best practices and so on. But I believe that some kind of integration is necessary, because we have different bits and pieces. We are able to solve them, and we have to know how to put them together.
Thank you so much. Mathias, your thoughts?
I think first is loving people, and second, the big package of soft skills, and the third one is a wide understanding of a lot of techniques like service management, agile methods, security, new technologies like blockchain or something like that. And I think the most important is to be interested, to learn every day something new, and to be open for whatever is coming.
It's so important, isn't it? Because our motivation shines through when we're interested. Fantastic. Thank you so much. Mart, final thoughts on this?
Final one, Stephen, great question as an opener. I would say position yourself in the world of your customer and imagine, what you can do to make your customer's life better, easier, of better quality, and so on. So put yourself in their shoes, and then be the best value provider you can think of.
Okay, let's take some thoughts from Gary. Apologies, Gary. I saw that you put your hand up earlier and then overlooked you. My apologies, my friend. Go ahead.
I know we want to move to the next question, but I think there's four things. And it's really interesting hearing the panel. I think it's operational, technical, commercial, and relationships, both at the customer level, but also internally. You've got to be able to make things happen. That would be my quick summary. So you can move on to the next question.
Mm-hmm. I think that's so important, and perhaps we might return to those dimensions. So let's hold that thought a little bit, because those dimensions are absolutely going to shape. I can see lots of nods from the panel. So I think you've done a brilliant job, actually, of summarizing where our thinking is going to play out in the next 60 minutes. So fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. Excellent. And a great question to start us off. So thank you very much indeed, Stephen. Really appreciate that question. So Suchitra, let's move on. We'll take our next question, please.
Question from Vincent. Is there such a thing as a lifelong career in service management?
What are the opportunities for people to really have a lifelong career? Let's start us off, if we can. Martin, begin, please.
Very shortly, there is definitely opportunity for lifelong career, because service management was always here, is here, and will be here in different forms. So it's not necessary that it will be done in the way like we do that today, or like we did it a few years back. It evolves, but it always will be here. So if you are interested, if you are motivated, how it was mentioned before, then definitely there is a place for you.
Excellent. Thank you, Dierk.
I'm sorry, Martin. I would say no, because it's not long life career, but it's long life learning. So That would be,
Okay.
I think, where you should be, or where you will be, where you agree on. So I think it's not looking on careers; it's looking on learning and practicing. So I think no one could be sure to have a long life career now, even if they are 30 or 40 years old. In fact,
Okay,
we will have service management. We will have service management, but lifelong learning. I think that's the point.
And it's so important, isn't it, to be able to keep at the leading edge all of the time, and add value, constantly add value to your organization. Mathias, and then Gary.
I think it's the same. Your career ends there, whatever and wherever your goal is. So you can be or become CEO, CIO, consultant. It's lifelong learning and lifelong interest. And at the end of the day, do it.
Thank you very much, Gary.
I think you've got to be a bit like Madonna. You've got to reinvent yourself. And I think as long as you reinvent yourself, then service management is a great place to start a career. For example, it used to be the elastoplast of operations. It used to be the customer complaints department, if you like. And now it's an opportunity to kind of improve the customer experience, to reduce churn, and actually help increase revenue. So I think as long as you adapt, I think that it's a great. I always recommend people. It's a great place to extend your career. Sure.
Absolutely right, and thank you so much, panel, for your thoughts on on all of this. Really, really interesting. Mart, give us some final thoughts on this question.
Well, I hate to burst was it Vincent's bubble, but he may have been in service management for as long as he is in a professional career. I mean, since the 1940s, the service industry is outpacing the product industry, by now with a 9-to-1 ratio. So most of us are in the service industry and therefore also service management. When it was called service management, the first time I was made aware of it in the early 90s, I was looking back at my career and thought, oh, you know what? That's what I've been doing all these years. So it says it's hard to avoid not to be in service management. In other words, most of us are in the service industry, therefore also service management. So might as well get used to it.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Thank you very much indeed, panel. If you are in a service organization, or if you're in an organization that prides itself on differentiating through excellence in service delivery, then it kind of comes with the territory. A good friend of mine is a recruiter, and one of the CVs that she highlighted was somebody saying that for the last 10 years they'd been responsible for all of the complaints in their organization. Now, I'm sure that the candidate did not quite mean it that way, but you're right. It began from a reactive position, from having problems and fixing problems, and that discipline and those frameworks that grew out of fixing problems then became so useful for people to build their careers across whatever roles in the organization and carry that excellence in service delivery forward. So thank you very much indeed. Some really great points from the panel. Just looking at the social, thank you so much for everybody joining from around the world. We've got folks in Australia from Egypt. We have some people in Qatar. We have London in the UK represented alongside Gauteng in South Africa. We have some folks in the Philippines and some colleagues in New Zealand as well. So thank you so much, everybody, for joining, and some regular people as well who are tuning in today. So please do go ahead and put your question directly into the chat, and we'll bring it into Slido and put it in front of the panel. Very good. On that note, Suchitra, please, let's take our next question.
Question from Neil. Is ITSM still valuable in an agile and DevOps world? If so, how do they relate with each other?
So, how does IT service management relate in an agile and DevOps world? So, Mathias, help us out.
Okay, we can say two things. On one hand side, we provide service, and on the other hand, we produce something like a product, and both is valuable. So we have to combine that and bring it together. So it's at the end of the day, it's complementary and not each this or the other. It's both.
Thank you very much, Dierk.
I think it's still valuable even in DevOps. So if you ask developers, what's about DevOps? And they say, oh, no, we don't need ops. So I ask them, okay, what's about having service desk? What's about capacity management? Oh, no, service desk, it's run by the service desk. No, I think that's operations, and that I think that it's IT service management. So I think, and I told this even in the last level up sessions here, I think we have enough frameworks, we have enough knowledge, and we have to combine it. So it's good to have service management knowledge, service management experience, and it's still valuable in DevOps because DevOps means dev and ops and business. So that's what I said in the beginning. Connecting to customers, connecting to value streams. So it's still valuable, yes.
Okay, thank you. Gary?
Yeah, and I think projects or DevOps have kind of a start, even they're in sprints, have a start and a finish. Whereas service management is about the business life cycle. So there's a kind of a crossover. So yeah, there'll be continual projects and DevOps, but think of service management as the kind of end-to-end. It's the business life cycle that you need to manage. So I think they coexist.
Thank you. And Martin?
I think that I can agree with all people who answered before me. And I would like to say that first, Agile and DevOps, those are not methods, those are not frameworks or best practices. Those are, let's say, approaches how to fulfill certain customer needs or solve customer problems. That's one point. So you want to approach those problems and you want to solve them. That's one point. The second point is that you have to know how to do it. And here we can come to service management, because behind service management, we have a lot of frameworks, we have ITIL and stuff like that. So it can help us on the way to be agile and DevOps if we use appropriate, let's say, principles from agile and DevOps approaches. And if we apply them on service management, then it should work together perfectly.
Excellent. Thank you very much indeed, panel. And what a great question, Neil. Talking about the value there of service management in the current era. And, I completely agree with that, panel. It's all about, working in your organization to continually improve and to look at the ways in which you can adopt and adapt different methodologies to your own industry and your own situation to deliver outstanding value for your customers and for your colleagues, and ultimately, of course, for stakeholders and shareholders. So very good. Let's move on, Suchitra, if we may. Some great questions coming in from the live chat as well. I can see those now. So let's take the next question, please.
We have a live question from Diane. Can business relationship management skills and expertise help you become a good service manager?
Okay, Mart, start us off, and then Gary.
I'd like to answer that with two quotes, actually. One that says, people may not buy goods and services, but they buy relations, stories, and magic. I mean, think about that. And another one I really, thought is might be applicable here, is that customers may forget what you've said, but they will never forget how you made them feel. I mean, talk about relationships. So absolutely, if you're a good relationship, good at relationships, then you will definitely thrive when with services. Both relationships and services, of course, can go on forever. So those two go very well hand in hand.
Excellent. Some really inspiring thoughts for us there. Gary?
Yeah, I really like those quotes. I'll kind of say why I think it's important. One of the reasons it's important is the service manager can bridge together what's going on in the business with what's happening in operations and make it work. And the only way you can do that is to have the excellent relationship skills, not just with the customer, which is the obvious base, but actually internally, because service management's a team sport. If you can't corral the organization to solve service issues, then you're not going to be good at your job. So I think it's massively important on both sides.
Thank you, Dierk.
Just 2 points to add and think to add to Mart. So I think a business is built on trust, and it's a people business. So if you are a good business relationship manager or something like that, I think it's really necessary and helpful for being a good service manager. Become or being. Trust.
Thank you,
and
Martin. Final thoughts.
People business.
Thank you, Martin. Final thoughts.
Okay, from my side, it's simple. Customer wants to get some kind of services from us. We want to provide good services to the customer. So somebody must bring us together and allow us talk. So there must be some kind of relationship to be able to exchange any kind of information. So without relationship, you cannot do service management.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, panel. And what a great question, Diane. The one thing that I would say is that actually I think that, as you refine those skills, you can also go from good to great, all right, to paraphrase, another publication that's available from all good bookshops. Very good. Let's move on, please, if we can, and take our next question, Suchitra.
Question from Sudeep. Do I need to also gain project management certifications to help me advance my career in IT service management?
Well, that's a really good question, and thank you for asking it, Sudeep. I guess that one of the things that certifications can do is to help you crystallize your aptitude to do something into a format that your employer and your colleagues and your customers can see directly, all right, to prove that even if you haven't had the experience so far, that you do have that aptitude to be able to develop that experience in the future. Dierk, start us off on this, and then we'll hear from Martin.
So I said lifelong learning is good. So it won't hurt if you gain some PM certifications. But I think, to my point of view, IT is changing from projects to products to team-orientated culture and organization. So I think it's good to have knowledge about that, but I think IT is changing, and project management certification and skills will help you. But I think it's not the brightest future for project management, because IT is changing to team orientation, to product orientations and product teams like that.
Okay, thank you, Martin. Then Mathias.
Okay, now I have a great opportunity to disagree with Dierk. I believe that his vision that projects will disappear is not correct, because I believe that there will always be projects, doesn't matter how we call them, and then definitely the knowledge how to manage projects will be useful. Back to the question, I don't know if the certification is necessary, but it's always good to know how other people around me work, what they need from me, what I need from them, and how should I ask for that, what can I expect, etc., etc. So certain knowledge is always good, because it helped me with communication with them, with relationship with them, to understanding their domains, specifying my requirements, and so on.
Thank you, Mathias.
If I read the word need, then it sounds a little bit negative. So I would change it. I'm interested in PM, and then I would say, yes, go for it, because it's a wide understanding, which is important. As Martin said, the certification is nice to have, but an understanding of how projects are working, what is important, and what are the phases, and all that we still need, although in an agile world and all that, it's a combination. So yes, for your career, it's helpful, but if it's a need, then leave it. But if you are interested, then go for it.
Thank you so much, Gary.
I'm going to be a bit cheeky and add a part to the answer, because I agree with everyone. I think absolutely helps to have that structure and understand project management. But the addition to that, because there's not one thing that fits everything, there's I'm a bit biased because I'm one of the co-founders of it, but there's a certification within APMG called the PS Professional, and it's really kicking off in the service management world, because basically what it does is it complements the skills you have in other certifications, not competes, and offers you, one of the areas is called Rainmaker, which is the commercial savviness. And there's another one called Athlete, which is about personal effectiveness. We were talking about relationship skills before. So I think definitely project management never hurts, gives you structure. But add in some of those there's plenty of other certifications, but just pitching in for the PS Professional, because I think it gives you very practical skills in the real world that will really help.
Thank you very much, Gary. And I completely agree with that. Look, the question here has some subtlety to it, all right? Advancing our careers is going to need us increasingly to have a multidisciplinary approach. The more that you progress in an organization, you realize, certainly I've realized, that people don't look to you to have the answers, right? People just look to you to be able to facilitate better outcomes. So with that in mind, the more that you can expose your brain to great thinking, different ideas, the way in which you might go about things, that's certainly going to help you to advance your career in whatever your chosen discipline or industry or domain happens to be. Okay. It's the folks who I think, become a little narrow in their outlook that then become challenged later on in life to remain relevant. So from a relevance perspective, I would suggest consider what Gary was saying, consider what the panel has been saying, think about broadening your horizons, think about, those areas in your own personal and professional development that really do need to be built out so that you can remain relevant throughout your whole career. So really good, fantastic question. Thank you so much, Sudeep, for putting it to the panel. And Suchitra, let's move on, if we can, to our next question, please.
We have a live question from Haley. How do you recommend we continue lifelong learning in service management? Do you have any tips?
So recommendations on keeping up with the program. Martins, kick us off on this.
I think that there are typical, let's say, training, certifications, and stuff like that within IT environment. But I think that we can learn a lot from other disciplines, other industries, from other areas. And I think that we usually forget that. And I think that right now there is a great example. I think that I mentioned ITIL. We have ITIL version 4, and they started to talk about value stream mapping, management, value streams, and stuff like that. And everybody in IT pretend that it's something great, something new, and we invented that. And people completely forget that in other industries, it exists for 100 years. They have a huge experience with that, and we can learn from them. So, there are typical, let's say, career paths or certification paths, how to learn service management within IT. But what I recommend is look at around and get experiences from others, because we really don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Fantastic advice. Dierk, your thoughts, then Mart.
Funny. I raised my hand after Martin because I wanted to disagree. Just having some discussion here. but I cannot disagree. I fully agree with that. So nothing more to add.
Okay. The Wimbledon
Next
final in IT service management will come up very soon. All right, very good. Thank you so much, Dierk. Mart, and then Gary.
Definitely, you want to be a lifelong learner in the service management space. I mean, your customers' needs and expectations are changing all the time, and that will never end. So you better keep up with the latest, what goes on, and whichever industry you're in, to remain relevant. Because also service value it's baked in. It will always decrease in value. It will, over time. It's again a matter of keeping up. So be a lifelong learner, because another quote here: "Customers is why you go to work. If they go away, you go too."
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. Excellent advice. Thank you so much. Gary, your thoughts, please.
Yeah, I think the way to turbocharge your learning depends on where you are in your career, but this is my recommendation, and it's slightly controversial. Go to LinkedIn, find out who's running service management in different companies, and get together with those people. Create your own forum, if you like, or some kind of chance to get together and share ideas with each other. I work with a lot of service management organizations around the world, and any leaders in service management, I always recommend they do that, because you'll learn so much from other people and they'll learn from you. So it's kind of echoing what people have said, but taking some practical action to do it.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, panel. The one thing that I would add is that I'm learning a lot from podcasts these days. I find it an auditory kind of medium, super helpful, and I can dip in and out of it. And my little podcast app always remembers where I was up to. So from that point of view, it works really, really well. So do consider subscribing to some podcasts. I know that folks on the panel deliver their own podcasts in this space. So do look out for them. And we're going to pop some links in the chat for you so that you can follow them a little bit later on. All right, very good. Thank you so much, panel. Let's move on to Suchitra and take our next question.
Another live question from Nikhil. If I want to travel the world using my knowledge in ITSM, which role or career in ITSM is the best? I am now into IT change management.
Okay, Nikhil. Well, those sorts of skills are very much in demand. And if you're interested in developing delivery in different geographies and different business cultures, you are set up to succeed. Mart, start us off, and then we'll hear from Mathias.
Maybe I'm a little bit biased, but I think portfolio management, that would be my preference, because you're close to where the decisions are made, how money is being spent, close to the success of the organization by having cutting edge services and service quality levels. I mean, that would be my pick as far as which part of service management continue your career.
Okay, thank you so much, Mathias.
Yes, traveling the world means inventing, exploring, needs learning something new. So you work with people or you are with people. So take away the IT, go to organizational change management and learn all about that. And then you see how people work and what you can gain, what you can achieve. So at the end of the day, change management, yes, the organizational change management, I think it's very important.
Thank you so much. Gary, your thoughts?
Yeah, it'd be controversial. If you want to look at the fastest growing area, there's an area called customer success, which is basically in the software business, it's equivalent of a service manager. And there's a massive growth in that area. So if you're looking to ride the wave, I'd say customer success is somewhere you should look at.
Thank you very much. Some great career advice there. And Martin?
I can look at it from two different perspectives. First one, you can see companies that are on the beginning of their service management journey, and then definitely single processes, the most used processes like incident problem change management will definitely help you. But then you can find companies that they use service management for a while, and I believe that the biggest issue or the biggest bottleneck in those organizations is to put everything together. From individual processes, create value stream, and for that, you will definitely need organizational change management. Because which process is always the best one? Mine. Which tool is always the best one? Mine. And you will hear that from each and every team, and you have to deal with that.
Thank you very much indeed. And I would say, just to kind of add to that, thinking about How do you get there? How do you raise your profile so that others who are working in other business cultures, other industries, and so on will recognize you as having value to bring? You can do that through joining in with activities such as this, such as Level Up. One of the things that you need is, first of all, to have a portfolio of work that other people can find you online, discover you, so that they can invite you to help them with whatever problems that they are having wherever they are in the world. So if you're interested in building an international career, I would suggest strongly, of course, for you to subscribe to Level Up and join us here on Mondays and Fridays so that you can do exactly that. So very good. With that little advertorial over, Suchitra, let's move on if we can and take our next question, please. Yeah, thank you.
We have a live question from Ali. With the current environmental uncertainties, which qualifications should global service providers observe to facilitate a sustainable service range?
It's a fantastic question, this, because it shows great insight into the very real challenge that the landscape is changing for the big global providers, all right? And accountability in a whole range of different things is becoming more and more important. And some key questions are being asked around your environmental footprint. The carbon footprint that you have as an organization, is part now of the procurement set of questions that you're asked when you're providing services to other organizations. They want to know how you are going about managing all of that. Dierk, what are your thoughts on being able to remain confident about sustainability whilst at the same time delivering in an uncertain and volatile environment?
Yes, so I think it's really a great question, and it took me some minutes to think about it. And so, as an expert, it's really good to think about some new questions, not always the same. So, I think having skills, having knowledge in communication, so communicate all the things to the customers, and maybe some financial skills. Financial knowledge about that, just to calculate the costs of all the things we have now. So communication and controlling something like that.
Thank you very much. Martin, your thoughts?
Actually, when I started to learn a little bit more about DevOps a few years back, I could find one term that I never heard before that, but I recognize it's very important, not just for DevOps, but for other areas as well. And it was anti-fragile organization. Because, in this uncertain environment, with all challenges we have, without knowing what challenge will come tomorrow, we have to be ready for them, and we have to be able to deal with them. And even more, we must be able to see or to somehow accept the fact that we cannot avoid them. That's point number one. And if we cannot avoid them, then we can use them as opportunity to bring better solutions. And Mart always use some kind of quotes. So let's use another one. I think it was Henry Ford. And Henry Ford said that when something is broken, it's fine, because finally we have chance to build it better. So accommodate this capability, because we will never avoid those challenges.
Okay, thank you so much, Mathias, and then Gary.
Yes, I think the most important qualification is to learn and to accept to deal with these uncertainties. Yesterday we had pandemic, today we have war, tomorrow we have energy crisis, and then we don't know what's coming next. But I'm sure it's coming, duck. We have such a big and fast change speed at the moment. So we have to accept this. I think it's the first thing. Then trust in our people. We have very good people we work with. So as a global provider, yes, we know we have the best ones. And be confident in yourself and in your team. And I think that's what we can do. We cannot change the world, but we can accept and doing the best, making out of it.
Thank you. And Gary?
I think, Ali, this is a great question because it's conjured up something in my mind which I haven't really thought about for a while, which is, there's a big focus on ESG and the environment, and it's becoming more serious rather than a tick box in organizations. And I think, having thought about it a little bit now, since your question, I think the service manager will probably have to represent the statistics around ESG within an organization, and that'd be a good place for it to be. So I agree with all the panel, but I think that, like always, a service manager will be the beacon of demonstrating the measures that are actually being achieved by that company.
I think that you're right. There are so many different dimensions to this. And of course, the folks who are at the heart of service management are the ones who are often called upon to bring clarity when there is, a little bit of vagueness or uncertainty around things. So you're bound to be in the hot seat. Martin, you wanted to add something.
I just wanted to react what Gary said. It's very important to have measures. It's very important to have statistics. It's very important to have some data, because we cannot just jump from side to another side based on the feelings, because then you will just get frustration. You cannot rely just on feelings or intuition. You have to support with data. You have to establish a hypothesis, you have to establish some kind of experiment, you have to measure, you have to learn from that, and based on that you can go further and you can solve your issues.
Thank you very much. And I would say overall, by the way, service managers, don't get ahead of yourselves, all right? Speak truth to power. If you're talking about ESG, if you're talking about environmental social governance, then yeah, it's good that your organization has a net zero commitment. That's a good thing. But really, come on, let's dig underneath the surface of that a little bit and make sure that when you're making these statements out to the market or to your customers, and they will in turn to their customers and so on, because that's how an integrated value chain works, that you are not making it out to be a little better than it really is in real life. So let's be real, let's be authentic, and let's be consistent. But what a fantastic question, Ali. Thank you so much for asking it. Really brilliant questions today from our audience. Thank you so much. Suchitra, on that note, let's move on and take our next question, please.
Another live question from Anita. How does IT service management differ from information security management?
Martin.
Very, very, very shortly. I have one friend and he is expert in information security, and I really like his definition of security. Security is nothing extra, nothing special. Security is integral part of any system, any feature, any functionality of all systems. So there is nothing like extra security. It's a part of all our activities, all our tasks, all our components we provide. So yeah, it belongs to service management. That's it.
Thank you very much indeed. Very clear, very concise. Matthias?
I would agree. At the end of the day, service management is providing value, and information security is a must. So it's CIA at the end of the day. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability, and it's not negotiable. It's inside. It's an enabler, not more, but important.
Thank you so much. And Mart, final thoughts on this one?
I totally agree with what was said so far, Anita. You know what? Information security is also a service. Look at it that way.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you, panel. So some short and sharp answers for you there, Anita, and a brilliant question. And thank you so much for raising it to the panel. Suchitra, I know that time is working against us a little. Let's move on. Take our next question, please.
Question from Stuart. Would it help me start my career joining a service management members group?
Membership organizations then, panel. How does this work in your experience? Dierk, go ahead.
Yes. Just Short answer, yes, because I did it the same way. I was working for ITSM of Germany, something like that, and I was organizing a regional group for 10 years, and it gave me so much insight. It gave me so much contacts, business contacts, and it gave me so much learning. So, yes.
Thank you, Mathias.
Yes, I would agree. In every group, we make relations, we exchange interests, we exchange thoughts. We have the chance to take another opinion. We have the chance to learn. It's always better together than alone. So, yes, go.
Thank you very much. Martin?
I will a little bit disagree with both of them because there was very strict yes. And I would like to say maybe, because it depends if you are active, if you are able to learn what you can find in those organizations. You cannot be passive, you have to be active. And if you are interested, if you are active, it's a great source of opportunities, learning, knowledge, experience, even jobs and stuff like that. But you have to be active. You have to do something for that. You cannot be just the member.
It's a really good point. Thank you very much indeed. You know, in communities, you get back what you put in. I think was it Churchill? He said a lot of stuff, didn't he? Really, Churchill. But one of the things that he said was, you make a living from what you get, but you make a life from what you give. And that's super important to bear in mind when you're working in any kind of community situation. You're effectively volunteering inside a professional community. The other dimension that I would add to Martin's thought about activity and joining in and making sure that you take part and that you give is now, of course, it's not just about your local IT service management group, but there are actually international opportunities for you where you can build up that international dimension because we have the internet. And when I started my career, the only place that you could meet up, well, was physically in a meeting room, really, and everything else has kind of developed from there. So do bear that in mind as well to broaden your horizon a little bit. Okay. Let's move on. We'll take our next question, please.
Question from Stephen. I am new to service management. Besides the typical service management certification training, what else should I do to further my career in service management?
Hey, thank you. Gary, start us off on this one.
Yeah, I've worked out the cameras in reverse, so when I put my hand up, it goes the wrong way. I've already given my promo for the PS Professional, and again, I just say it quickly because the service management community around the world are really taking this, and it's really helping them in a practical way. But I want to say something different. There's a few questions coming up on careers as well, which is in order to progress your career, because a lot of reasons people want the certification is to progress their career. You need to have what I call commercial value. And what that means is that you need to offer either commercial value to the customer or to the company that you're working for in order to get yourself a pay rise. And service management is the perfect place to add commercial value. For example, in a company like AT&T, I used to work there in service management and outsourcing, 60% of the add-on revenue comes from the service manager. So if you want to develop your career in service management beyond just the certifications, which I think are important, try and get yourself involved in things that offer commercial value both to the customer and to the company that you work for.
All right, really excellent. Thank you. And I think the social team are posting a little link in the chat to some resources for folks if they're looking at that. Mathias, your thoughts, please.
I think a certification is nice that shows what you learn, and then the most important is practice. And every day practice, and then practice. Then we learn and we see, okay, what is working where? Not everywhere the same. I learned in the book it's working for this company, but maybe not for that one because the culture is different. There is so much. So the best thing for your career, practice, learn about, take the next try, explore, invent. Yes, that's much more than a certification.
Thank you very much indeed. And for everybody who's thinking about service management and building a strong foundation across your teams, there's a whole variety, of course, for you to be able to choose from. But do have a look on apmginternational.com and find your way into what those actually are and see what might fit really well with your particular situation. I do think that increasingly it's a portfolio approach that you need to take. If you're really going to build a strong foundation, you need to have an empathy and awareness for a variety of different things for you to be able to add the most value in your early career. Very good. So thank you so much, Stephen. Really great question to ask and put to the panel. I think we've got time to fit one or two more questions in. Suchitra, if we move quickly, we'll take our next question, please.
We have another question from Stuart. What is the best service management reading I can obtain for free?
Well, there's lots of free stuff on the internet. The challenge is always figuring out what's great and what's not so great. Martin, where would you begin with this? And then we'll hear from Dierk.
I will not tell you any specific article or book. I will just remind what Gary said. Look at LinkedIn, contact with other people, and search for experience. That's the best reading you can find.
Thank you very much indeed. Dierk?
I will not disagree to Martin. I will agree. But one more thing I want to add. I think the book, The Phoenix Project, it's my most valuable book. It's not for free. Sorry for that. It's not for free, but it's worth it. And it's a great thing. I read it within 3 days, and that's quite fast for me. The Phoenix Project.
Okay, excellent. Thank you so much. We'll put a link to that in the chat. Martin, you wanted to come back.
I just wanted to add what Dierk said, because I like that book as well. And I always say that I'm fascinating that the whole book is not exactly about service management. It's about DevOps, or it's promoted in DevOps area, but there is a lot of service management inside as well. And whole book is about this stuff, but there is no one single time when it's mentioned that it's service management or DevOps. It's about issues, everyday issues people have to solve and how they solve it. And that's great.
Thank you so much indeed. And the other thing that I would say is that whilst you might not have to pay the resource, and exchange, money, dollars or euros or pounds and pence for a piece of reading, it still costs, because you need to commit your time. And on that note, we'll move on then to the next question. So choose wisely and read thoroughly and broadly. I think we'll probably get to our last question now, Suchitra. I think so, panel, we might need to be fairly quick on this one.
We have a question from Bill. How do I best move from my current service support role into a more service delivery role?
Okay, Bill. So moving from a support role into a service delivery role, any hints and tips? I would start off really, Bill, with kind of thinking that saying, find a sponsor for you in your organization to be able to help you on that journey. Dierk, your thoughts, and then Mathias.
As we want to be short with a short answer, I would say or suggest ask your boss.
Thank you very much indeed. It's always a good point. Just say it out loud, all right? Say it with conviction and meaning, and then it could well happen. Mathias, and then Gary?
To make it short, look for an open job in a service delivery part, and then apply.
Okay. Thank you very much indeed. Gary, and then we'll just squeeze in one from Martin.
Okay, I'm going to bang on about customer success again, only that I think it informs us a bit, because it's an infinite loop. So you can go backwards. So you can do support into delivery, into even pre-sales. So I think look into the customer success framework just as an idea to use that with service management. That's what I'd recommend.
Really interesting, really good idea that. Thank you so much, Gary. And Martin, final thoughts?
Very quickly, I will answer with the question, isn't service support role part of service delivery?
Indeed. Indeed. Thank you very much indeed. And on that bombshell, we've come to the end of the live questions element of the show. So what we're going to do next is we're going to hear from each of the panel on their kind of closing remarks for today. So Gary, if I may, I'm going to come to you first and then Martin.
Okay, listen, thanks so much for inviting me. What an amazing panel. I'm privileged to be part of this discussion today. Just a quick ad for me. I have a podcast called The Company Doctor, which is available on every platform. But the reason for mentioning it is it's only focused on helping people with their careers. So if you want to develop your career in service management, I think there's some really good stuff that will help you. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks so much, Gary. And I personally would recommend that one as well. I've listened to several of the episodes and they are good fun, easy to listen to, and with some insightful thoughts as well on how to build your career. Martin and then Mart.
First of all, thanks a lot for possibility to be here. Again, great questions, great ideas from other panelists. What I would like to somehow say, I learned that it's not lifelong career, it's lifelong learning. That's one point. And maybe another point, because in many questions we could see questions about certification. I would like to say that certification is good to have because it can open the door, but at the end of the day, it's what you do, what will somehow bring success to you.
Completely agree with that. Thank you so much, Martin. Mart and then Mathias.
I just go in style of my quotes because when I saw this one, I thought, that makes sense. A satisfied customer is the best business strategy of all, right? But then I saw another one, customer satisfaction is worthless. Customer satisfaction is worthless. Can you imagine that? Customer loyalty is priceless.
Okay. Now that is moving the game up a gear. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed, Mart, for establishing the kind of the pinnacle of the value in that particular pyramid. Thank you, Mathias, and then Dierk.
It's from my side. Thanks a lot for this interesting and valuable start in this new week. And I keep it simple, 3 words, just do it, and then you will be successful.
Thank you very much, Mathias, for that kind of, borrowed quote from Nike. Absolutely, just do it. Thank you so much. Dierk and then Suchitra.
So just for me, the final thanks. Thank you for being here. And as I said before, lifelong learning, and it's a learning for me, again, with good questions, with good partners here and at the Panelists. So thank you for having me something learned now. Thank you, Nick, and thank you, APMG.
Thank you so much, Dierk. And Suchitra, your reflections on today.
It's been a great show, Nick, and thank you to our live viewers, firstly, for sending in some amazing questions. And of course, our panelists for your brilliant answers. So thank you once again.
Yeah, I'd really like to echo that. It's been quite a pace, today to everybody, and some real bright thinking as well. First thing on a Monday morning, at least in my time zone, at any rate. So, look, on behalf of everybody, I'd like to thank the panel and also our producers, who are, of course, everybody who's been watching online and putting in such fantastic questions. It's the questions really that dictate whether the show is good or not. So thank you very much indeed, everybody. So look, on our website now, you can search for over 1,000 questions that have been asked previously by people just like you about their careers, together with all of the answers that have been given. It's a free resource that connects you with more than 140 experts from around the world. Don't forget, you can listen to the audio versions of the shows on your preferred podcast platform. Friday the 29th, well, we're going to be looking at building cultures of agile change into organizations. And next week, as we begin August, we're starting to look at how to engage stakeholders on Monday, followed by building winning business cases on Friday the 5th. Subscribe to the show, and we'll send you a personal summary of what's coming up and how you can join us here on the panel and level up your career with APMG. Thanks very much, everybody. We'll see you next time.